me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Friday, April 14th, 2023. Our weekly college baseball talk with expert and guru, Mr. Matt Grissom at Grissom Tweets, and his new podcast just released his fourth episode at CBSB Insiders. We'll get you caught up with what's going on in college baseball, what to expect this weekend, maybe a future or two to pick up. I know last week I grabbed a little pizza and beer money on the Campbell Camels plus 5,000. I didn't get the 8 or 9,000, but that's okay. Let's just get to the dance. Let's win a few series, and then we'll have some fun with it. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Matt Grissom.
What's going on, JD?
What is up, Matt?
I'm battling a little bit of sinus issues over here, but we've got some beautiful spring weather finally in Arkansas, and the pollen's coming with it, but I'll take it. It's 85 and sunny today.
Well, I have to say this. Shout out to Connor. Good afternoon. And he says, I hope I'm enjoying the beautiful day in Massachusetts. Generally in Boston, I'm 45 minutes to an hour south of Boston. I'm on Cape Cod, that little island over there. And we're 10 to 15 degrees usually cooler than it is in Boston. It's 83 degrees in Cape Cod today. Holy shit. I need a retractable roof now in the studio.
You got some fans blowing?
I'm telling you, it is so nice that this is the one time that we enjoy the basement office and studio because the wife walked in this morning to get the pup, and she's like, holy shit, you got the AC on in here. And they're like, no, it's nice and cool because we're downstairs and away from the heat. So we can't complain. The only thing I can complain is I'm not outside working on the suntan. But thanks for sharing the weather with us there, Matt.
Absolutely. And just starting off, we've had two series already kick off and talk about hot. LSU offense just continues to plummet or to pummel opponents. They beat number 12 ranked Kentucky last night 16-6 in a run rule game. That was probably the easiest college baseball bet that I've had to make all season long. The Tigers were favored minus 220, but that was a hammer play for me. That was the only game I was on last night. And luckily, the Tigers and Paul Skeens bounced back from last weekend against South Carolina, where they lost their Paul Skeens day. And the Tigers, baby, they just keep rolling.
Is there a comparison? And this is probably, I'm overstepping my boundaries here because there weren't many teams ever created like last year's Tennessee team. Is there a comparison to this year's LSU team with the Tennessee Vols of last year?
So I would say yes, maybe offensively, but as far as the pitching rotation, I just don't think there is. I think Wake Forest is probably more of a comparison to Tennessee just because they've got three starters, your Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys that are all sub-2 ERAs with Sean Sullivan, Josh Hartle, and the king, Rhett Lauder, going Fridays, who is another best bet I'm on today. But those guys, like I said, all sub-2 ERAs. They've got the offensive power, the firepower to just smash the ball. But LSU is a little shaky in their bullpen. They're a little shaky on their Saturday, Sunday guy. They keep trying to switch it up. They've gone with Christian Little this weekend. They went with Thatcher Hurd a couple weekends ago, who just – continuously kind of gets beat here and there. And then their Saturday guy, Ty Floyd, he is a roller coaster up and down. You hope to get him on the right day. And I think today, minus 220 again, minus 235, whatever you get it at. I think LSU is probably a parlay play. I don't feel as confident as I did last night with Skeens, but LSU's definitely got some question marks. You could shoot holes in their argument to why they're 4-1 right now to win it all. I think that is a little mispriced just because you look at another team like Wake Forest, who is just chomping at the bit to take over that number one rank. And the minute LSU drops a series that I think they'll eventually do, they probably should have done it last weekend against South Carolina. That series got pushed out. It ended up in a 1-1 tie because they canceled the Saturday afternoon and Sunday game. So until LSU shows me that they've got this pitching rotation locked down to where it needs to be, I think Wake Forest should be your front runner to win it. And at 10-1, I still think it's a good price to get them at.
So breaking down the SEC right now, you're talking Wake Forest, you're talking LSU, then my assumption would be Tennessee and then the rest, correct?
No, I wouldn't even have Tennessee up there. I think Tennessee has just fallen off too far. And right now
Okay.
that they're playing the Razorbacks this weekend up in Fayetteville, and they've decided to switch it up. So Chase Dolander, who just continuously gets shelled in his performances. Yeah, he was great last year, and I just don't think a 98-mile-per-hour fastball is intimidating anymore. Chase is not starting tonight. They're actually going with another guy named Andrew Lindsay. And the only other pitcher who we assume is going to start is Drew Beam on Sunday. But you've got guys that are just, they're popping up in this Tennessee bullpen and trying to make some noise because Chase Dolander and Chase Burns, who were your Friday, Saturday guy, they're not getting it done. And I think Tony Vitello knows how important this series is against Arkansas. They're trying to win, but I just don't put Tennessee up there anymore. I would say it's LSU 1 and then Florida shortly after that. And then I would say Arkansas and then probably Tennessee at 4. But, that would leave out South Carolina, and I think South Carolina is a better team than Tennessee. So Tennessee may be your 5th best team in the SEC.
Now, how many games have we played so far this season?
We are pretty much at the midway point. So I think most teams they've played around 35 games.
Okay. Because someone asked me that before we came on. And he was like, hey, how much further do they get till they start conference play? And then obviously the dance. We're in April now. Being from Cape Cod and having the Cape League guys come in, the colleges that go the furthest in the dance are the ones that don't come to the Cape till after that. So some of the stars take it all the way, don't get here. So I'm trying to gauge my Cape Cod Baseball League calendar with your calendar.
Yeah, so you'll have conference tournaments start around mid-May and then the regional start in June. So just to kind of put that in perspective, we've got about six more games, 6 more weekends to go, and then you'll get into conference play or to get into conference tournament play.
And here as you're talking, I'm like, oh my God, talk about going from left to right. You were talking about Wake Forest at 10-1. And then I switch it over to SEC, and I'm hearing you break down the ACC, SEC. I apologize there.
No, that's fine. I mean, I would say Wake Forest is probably the only team that could contend right now with the SEC when you're talking top teams. Yeah, Virginia is playing really good baseball right now. They need their day 2 and day 3 pitchers to level up to what Brian Edgington's doing. But yeah, I mean, South Carolina is a force to be reckoned with. I know Stanford's in that top 8 seed talk right now, being ranked number 8, but I'm just so down on the Pac-12 this year. I just don't think they've got the horses to be able to hit or pitch with the SEC. So right now, I mean, there's still some really good value, I feel like, out there with like a South Carolina, maybe even a Vanderbilt and Wake Forest as far as future markets go. But the SEC shows once again why they're the gauntlet of baseball. I mean, you've got arguably 6, maybe 7, 8 teams that are going to be in that, regional host spot. So it's going to get pretty wild. Hoover should be a lot of fun in the SEC tournament this year too.
Before we go on to tonight's game and the weekend schedule, fill me in on two teams, and I'm going back in the head here. How the mighty have fallen, or are they just And that's Texas and the one other school, Cal State Fullerton. Are they doing anything this year?
I've bet on Cal State Fullerton a little bit. I know I had them in a midweek. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and they ended up losing that game. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was USC beat them, which USC Trojans jumped into the top 25 for the first time since I'm sure the 60s. But Cal State dropped that game 4-3. Those little California, the little Florida schools, they're tricky, and I always like to back them during the midweek. But for whatever reason, I guess they didn't have their best showing. As far as Texas's biggest question mark outside of Lucas Gordon is who can pitch. I mean, yeah, you've had some impressive outings by Steely, but Texas is just not what they were last year offensively with like Ivan Melendez. They're missing a lot, but I'm just not buying into Texas this year.
All right. We talked backstage about the card. The Huskies, you said a couple games have already gone off. I'm on DraftKings now, and as I said to you, I just see money lines. I don't see over-unders. I don't see anything else. I guess you guys have been hitting them too hard, and they've decided to pull back some of the reins.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an issue with getting the right number or what, but yeah, they've really started limited in this market because you can't get run lines or totals. And if you do see them pop up, it's usually the right number of where it needs to be. But I mean, here lately, I've just not seen them on DraftKings.
2:30, just about to start. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech minus 135. Duke, BC. Duke now favored 135. You can grab the Eagles at plus 105. K-State, Kansas, Pittsburgh, Virginia. That you talked about the Virginia team. They're minus 425 today. Florida State, NC State. There's Wake and Louisville. The card's yours. Do you see anything good today or this weekend?
So Virginia is a team that I parlayed. I parlayed them with LSU today, going with Ty Floyd against Kentucky and Florida. Florida's got Brandon Sproat coming out. They're taking on a Georgia team that I just don't think is very good outside of their starter tonight that's going to throw for the Bulldogs, Jaden Woods. But Virginia is too high of a price to bet straight up. If there was a run line, I would make it probably 2.5, 3.5. But I think Brian Edgington with Virginia, they've got the edge over Pittsburgh. I did back your Huskies, ranked number 20th. They're sitting pretty at a 24-8 record. They're 2-1 in the Big East. I guess they're getting into the thick of it in conference play. They take on a Xavier team that's just not very good. UConn's a short price, minus 140. Xavier's 20-12 on the year. They're coming off a series sweep of Butler, but last time I checked, Butler's not very good at baseball. So I rolled with your UConn Huskies. Hopefully that momentum of winning a national championship in basketball carries over to their baseball team. Don't think that's probably a thing, but let's roll with the Huskies minus 140 just as a Jeff Dawson play.
We thank you here. We thank you. They had a great run last year. Again, as it gets later in the season and the deeper they go, the length of pitching has always faltered them. Offense has never been a problem, but we thank you. The Husky Nation thanks you there, Matt.
Yeah, I've won a lot of money back in the Huskies. They're usually one of the first games to kick off, and especially in the midweek, I think they're like 8-2 to the over when you can find the line. So the Huskies, yeah, they've got a great offensive team, and they're fun to watch because they score a lot of runs. And the other one that kicks off early, it's Duke and Boston College. For whatever reason, Boston College is at home and a dog. Yeah, Henry Leak isn't Chris Flynn, who's my favorite pitcher to back on the Eagles, but Boston College is coming off a very embarrassing series sweep by Louisville, where their middle game, where they had Chris Flynn throwing, who was undefeated on the year, they had an 8-0 lead in the second inning when they gave the ball back to Chris Flynn, only to get shelled and gave up that 8-0 lead to lose 9-8. So I think Boston College coming back home, they've got something to prove. Duke's best pitcher, Jonathan Santucci, is not going to go tonight. It's another pitcher. I think this is where Boston College comes out and they get hot, and Henry Leak has the stuff to keep Duke from scoring a lot of runs. So I did back Boston College plus 110. I feel like that's a pretty fair price, getting the better team at home.
Alrighty. Any big series that we should be looking at? SEC matchups, your Arkansas Razorbacks, anything? How about some SEC dirt that you can give the people watching and listening?
So you've got three top 25 matchups in the SEC, starting with the game that we've already touched on, number 12 Kentucky, who's probably a little overrated for that ranking, but they face number 1 LSU. You've got number 16 Tennessee traveling to Fayetteville to take on my Arkansas Razorbacks. Go Hogs. And then you've got the best SEC matchup, in my opinion, in the number 6 ranked South Carolina Gamecocks taking on the 4th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores, who have just really turned it on here lately. Granted, it is against the weaker side of the SEC. So I think this is a really good opportunity to back South Carolina at another plus money price, plus 120, just like they did against LSU last weekend with Will Sanders on the mound. This team can hit, they can pitch, and they are very, very good. I don't think Vanderbilt has the horses to contend with South Carolina offensively. And I think if you could get 5 solid innings out of Will Sanders, the South Carolina Gamecocks should take game 1.
The Tennessee Arkansas, and you said Arkansas was home. What is there a series price on that, or who's expected to win this series?
No, there's not a series price in college baseball that I've been able to find. Arkansas is going to be favored in this one. I think it's probably going to end up closing around 140, but I got it at 125 and then again at 130. It's starting to move even more. I think it's 140 now, but for whatever reason, Tennessee, that like I said earlier, they're starting Andrew Lindsey. Arkansas is going with their lefty, Hunter Holland. He's gotten 3 really good Friday night starts now under his belt. They beat LSU, and then they won last weekend against Ole Miss 11-2 in his starts. The only one that he lost was Alabama. They were the better team that Friday night. But I do like Arkansas tonight, and that's not just a homer pick. I'm very questionable about this Andrew Lindsey kid starting for Tennessee. He's 0-1 on the year. He's only had, I think, 2 starts, but he's a midweek guy. And I think going and facing this Razorback team, the fans were lining up last night at 8 o'clock at night, camping out. They're going to rush the bullpen or rush the hog pen and be out there drinking ice cold waters, and they're going to be hot and ready to go for the game tonight. Tony Vitello, he was with Dave Van Horn on this coaching staff. There's the classic meme of them arguing with each other, and say what you will, it is a good little rivalry in baseball. I think both teams have a lot to prove this weekend, and I think the Razorbacks come out on top.
As we slowly start to wrap up here, I ask you a futures market. I ask you, is there teams on the rise that maybe we should take a look at? Are there some teams on the decline? I started the show with the Campbell Camels that you guys have talked about for weeks. Anything that you're eyeing right now in the futures market?
So I'm going to give you 3 that I think are way too low. I guess it would actually be high. I think they're overrated. And that would be LSU at 4-1. That would be one that I would not play right now. Ole Miss at 18-1. This Ole Miss team, they could possibly not even make it to the SEC tournament. This is a 14-team league, and the top 12 make it to Hoover. They are battling with the bottom of the SEC. Them and Mississippi State, Georgia, probably aren't going to make it. 2 out of the 3 of those. That's another one that I just think is way too mispriced over here to back them. And then the third one would be UCLA plus 2,500, 25-1 on a UCLA Bruins team that is just absolutely horrible offensively. I think those, looking at the top 10 prices you can get, that's wrong. As far as value, I think you still have some value, like I said, on Wake Forest at 10-1. Tennessee 10-1 is another one that I think is no good. Vanderbilt at 18-1, but the one that I love the most, and you could have gotten it, I think 35-1 last weekend before we said that South Carolina could upset LSU and give LSU their first series loss. This has plummeted down to 18-1, but I still think there's value on the Gamecocks here at 18-1. When you're looking at the SEC as a whole, you've got LSU 4-1, Tennessee 10-1, Florida 10-1, Arkansas 15-1, Vanderbilt 18-1, South Carolina 18-1. Those are all very comparable except for LSU. But you give me those 5 teams, and I think South Carolina should be down where LSU is based on what I've seen with this pitching rotation and what they can do offensively. They are legitimate. The last one, Virginia 20-1. Same kind of principle. I think they're closer to Wake Forest than the market is showing. When you can get Wake Forest 10-1 and Virginia at 20-1, I feel like Virginia should probably be around 15-1. So I think there is some value there on the Cavaliers.
Well, I got a bunch of tickets to punch after this show. We can't thank you enough. The scroll has been going the whole time. Matt Grissom tweets on Twitter, CBSB Insiders, where they can find all your college work. As we like to do, wrapping it up here, Matt, tell everyone where to find you.
You can follow us at CBSB Insiders on Twitter or go to collegebaseballinsiders.com. I threw together this little website where you can watch or listen to our shows. You can check out our best bets. It's all for free, and you can follow me at Grissom Tweets. I pretty much just spam out college baseball information. So if you've enjoyed what I've had to say and you want to learn how to bet college baseball, my DMs are open. Hit me up. I'm happy to give you any advice, and all for free. I love this stuff. I love trying to make money for people, and I'm up 20 plus units on the year. I track all my bets at mattgrissom.com. So check me out. Give me a follow.
The beast in the college ranks, the one and only Mr. Matt Grissom. Go follow him at Grissom Tweets at CBSB Insiders. Go check out his work, his podcast. Always a pleasure, Matt. We wish you nothing but the best. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Marty, for checking us out. Sometime around 4:30, 5 o'clock, myself and Riley Magnuson will get you caught up in the closing bell with today's market. And around 6:45, myself and Scott Webb will be talking MLB. So thank everyone here for following us today. Enjoy the afternoon. Go cash some tickets in the college ranks, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Jeff. Cheers.